G'day, how you doing? Hopefully we're coming through loud and clear. Good to see you guys again this morning. Just let me see if this is coming through on my phone, the audio. Oh, it is. Perfect, guys. Thanks for joining again. Looks like we've got everything working. We got the counter working, 82 people, awesome. Interestingly, yesterday, the numbers dropped off. I think YouTube stopped recommending me. Oh no, but it doesn't matter, does it? It's just us little group that we've developed here, and that's perfectly okay with me. But if you have other friends that you think might be interested, by all means, hit the share button down below. Just down below here, you'll see a share button below the video. You might just have to close the live chat to see that share. Another quick point. Let's tell YouTube this is worth watching. I have a 100% money back, not money back, like back guarantee. Hit the like button, and if the video is not worthy of the like, I'll give them all back at the end. I bet you're going to like it, so there's no harm. Just hit the like button. I follow a bunch of different YouTube streams, and I tend to get into the habit of just hitting that like button on the ones that I know that I'm going to enjoy or regularly enjoy. So if that's something you wouldn't mind doing, it helps the channel and it helps tell YouTube, hey, this is pretty cool. Come along and watch it. Not that chasing numbers can be frustrating in itself because it fluctuates up and down. I'm completely happy to have all of my regulars here, all of you guys here. This is why we do it at the end of the day, isn't it? Okay, a couple of notes. I've changed a few things. You'll see in the description below, I've sorted myself out a little bit, and we have in the description, we have all sorts of great resources. I've put the best live videos that I think you really must see down there. So have a look down in the description. You'll see I've listed about, I'm not sure, maybe 8 or 9 different videos that I think are the best of what I've produced over the last 5 weeks so far. So if you've missed any, jump down there and have a look, because there's some real great, well, I think they're really great. There's some really good stuff down there for both learning and inspiration. Of course, we've had on Sue Ellen, Sadie Cook, and Tom Putt give us their version of photography and inspire us to, try and push our boundaries a little bit. I've also got coming up, as I mentioned yesterday, on Friday, we've got Ignacio Palacios, a good mate of mine, an incredible landscape, wildlife and travel photographer. He's traveled the world taking photos. It's going to be incredible. He's a bit nervous, but we're just going to have a bit of a social chat, chit-chat between two mates. And I'm going to ask him some inspiring questions, and hopefully you guys can join in on that chat and give me some questions to ask him too on the day. Also down below, free photo competition. There is my complete beginner Photoshop workflow. If you want to learn Photoshop, I've changed that price from $149 to now pay whatever you like. That's all down below as well. What else have I got down there? Oh, I've also got the follow along image. If you want to try this sharpening technique on this exact image that I have here, hit that link there, go to the Dropbox, grab the photo, you'll find that there. It's called, the folder in Dropbox is called 3D Sharpening or something along those lines. Now, just with that particular Dropbox link, once you get the email that has the specific Dropbox link, keep it safe, because that's where I put every image every day into there, and you won't be able to access it via the email portal in the description other than the first time. So make sure you bookmark it, keep that link safe. If you've lost it, email me and I'll send it back out again. But once you have that link once, that's where you can access all the photos for all the tutorials that we essentially ever do on here. Who have we got with us today as we do the Romper Room Magic Mirror? Hey? Oh, Sue Ellen is with us. Hey, Sue Ellen. Great to have you here. It's incredible that all these people supporting the channel day in, day out. Sue Ellen, Peter Hammer there, second on the list. Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth. I'm not sure if we've had you here before. If you have, I don't recognize your name, but thanks for joining us today. Of course, we do this every day, this time slot, Monday to Friday. The best way to make sure that you don't miss out and you'll get an email in your inbox and a notification on your phone is hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel as well. And of course, then hit the little bell to the right of the subscribe channel and ask YouTube to send you notifications every time I go live. That's the best way never to miss out on these tutorials. Michelle Green, hey, I'll just skip through. Neville Thorogood, g'day mate, good to have you here again. Brenda, Gail, keeping a lookout for me, Gail, thanks for that. I don't know why YouTube, as I edit and whatnot, the description, it keeps changing the schedule for the video. I keep putting it in at 10 o'clock on the particular day today, and then it switches when I edit over to 24 hours later or something or other. And I think that's why YouTube is not recognizing it, because I'm switching it back late and it doesn't really realize or something that we're actually going to air. But it's all good. We've got Anna, we've got Sunny, Kathy Grieve. Hey Kathy, how are you? Good to have you here. Good mate of mine. Great to have you here. Sorry that your back's feeling a bit out. I hope it gets better soon. All right, I won't go through all the names, but it's an absolute pleasure to have everyone here. It makes my life enjoyable. And I'm not sure about your days, but with this little project, my days are just flying by. You know, I can't believe we've been doing this for 5 weeks. I had a look at a few stats last night. You guys have contributed over the last 5 weeks to 500,000 minutes of view time on this channel. 500,000 minutes. Sounds like a lot of minutes, doesn't it? Of view time. Okay? All good stuff. Anyway, Diane English is with us today. She found us today. Hey Diane, thanks for joining us. All right, I think that's it. Join the free photo comp down below. There's only a few photos in there so far. I think we've got 10 or 20 so far. And given that we're going to have a live final of the top 32, be sure to enter that one image. Look, to be honest, I think we're probably only going to get 50, 60, 70. So there's a big chance that you're going to make the live final if you enter that one image. It's just a bit of fun. We don't take it too seriously, but it will be really interesting anyway. We're going to do the live final here on YouTube. All right. Oh, lastly, if you have a question, be sure to type @Adam, and then you'll get a list of names pop up, and then select Adam Williams Creative, and that will tag me. It will pop up in fluorescent orange. Tom Putt's usually annoying me right about now with about 10 different fluorescent orange things telling me that my eyes are a beautiful shade of blue, and he loves my, 5-day shadow stubble and all these kind of interesting comments. I love it, Tom Putt. Where are you today? I can give you a hard time because you're not there. I can give you a tough time. All right, okay. We should do something. People get a little bit annoyed with me chatting and chit-chatting away, but we're just here having a cup of tea. Oh, Tom Putt is here. Thank you, Tom. He's here. He's just sitting silent, just waiting for me to have a little dig, and now I'm going to cop it for the rest of the day. Tom, this one is for you. If there is anything that this technique particularly works well for, it is drone photography and aerial photography. It does work well for other forms of photography as well, but you need to be a little bit more selective with it. For aerial photography, this is the duck's nuts, if I'm allowed to say that. That doesn't sound like a rude word, does it? It is. It's absolutely phenomenal. It will make the details jump up and stand off the page. I've used this for a couple of exhibitions, and every time I exhibit aerial images or images in general with this particular technique, people can't help themselves. They want to touch the images because they cannot believe that the images are printed on flat paper. It just looks like the details are all standing up off the paper. It's absolutely phenomenal. If there is one technique, this is interesting as well. Most of my Photoshop knowledge and techniques have come from learning from other photographers, learning from Google, learning from YouTube, like most of us do. This particular technique is one that I stumbled across myself, and I'm yet to see any other photographers, use it or describe it in a tutorial. Now, I'm not suggesting that I'm the only one that's doing it. All I'm suggesting is that it came to me as something that I discovered. And so it's not really, really well known. But let's get in there. It's really easy and it's really incredible on aerial photography. Here goes Tom Putt and Peter Hammer just highlighting that shirt. Oh, is my shirt blowing out the highlights? Sorry about that, guys. My web camera is the ordinary little matte camera on top of my iMac here. I've ordered a few different leads and cables to allow me to run my professional cameras as a webcam. Okay, so that'll be coming shortly. So I'll be able to give you, all my high depth detail and my beautiful blue eyes. What am I talking about? But yeah, I know the Mac camera is absolutely terrible. I am looking into improving different aspects of these things to give you a higher quality, more professional output, even though I'll stay the same. Silly me. Terry Boyd says my eyes look a bit dusty this morning. Thanks, Terry. Is that the smoky, sexy look you're referring to? What are we talking about? We should do some Photoshop, shouldn't we? Here we go. Sunny, was there a question? Did someone ask a question? Oh, the date on the photos. Yeah, the photo competition is photos that are before the 1st of March. I just put that down. I don't want to encourage people to run out and get the latest, greatest photo right now. So photos must be taken before that particular date, and they can be as far back in your collection. So just add your best landscape photo. Add your best landscape photo there. And we might do a Q&A on the competition in the coming weeks to make sure if you have any questions that you can get those images in. All right, let's do this technique. If we zoom into this particular aerial, this is a Lake Air aerial. I went to Lake Air with the Light Collective boys, a group of friends of mine that we get together and we produce exhibitions roughly every 2 years or so. Our first exhibition was this one, the Lake Air exhibition. Then we produced an exhibition called Black and Blue, which was on the Great Barrier Reef. And I will do a dedicated episode to these particular projects coming up. I'll separate them off and show you the Lake Air collection, and I'll show you the Black and Blue collection as well. And we also have Paul Holan coming up, who is part of the Light Collective. He's coming up next Thursday with a really great adventure presentation of photography. Okay, so this was a few years back. If we zoom in, the detail's all really nice. It's really, really beautiful. This is unsharpened. It's a raw file. I have edited it. And you would say, yeah, that detail looks pretty crisp, pretty nice, okay? But can we do more? Can we really pick this up and get it to lift up off the page? Douglas asks about the competition, including urban landscape. Yep, all landscapes. If you think it's a landscape, put it in. And I'll think it's a landscape too, okay? I'm not going to be too strict with this whatsoever. It's just a bit of fun. So if you think it's a landscape, then I pretty much think it's a landscape, okay? Sneak peek, Pam, a sneak peek from work. That's beautiful. This is more important than work. Well, I don't know what you do. Maybe it's not more important. Probably not more important. Okay, let's do this technique. It's really, really simple. What we're going to do first now, just a little bit of background. I would normally do this as part of my print preparation. As I get a phone call, I'm not sure who that is. I would normally do this as part of my print preparation. So I've already edited the file. I've already removed any of the, defects, if you like, dust spots, etc., etc. I've added the contrast, manipulated the light, tweaked the color, and now I'm thinking about presenting it to the world either digitally online or a competition or via printing out the image. And this is where I will now do the print preparation. So as part of that, I would use this particular technique. My complete print file preparation workflow can be found within my more advanced courses at easywayphotography.com.au. Let me know if you're interested in any of those courses. Send me an email and I will set you up a discount. Okay. All right, let's do it. We're going to duplicate, Command or Control J, this layer. So you can see over on the right hand side in the layers panel here, we now have a copy of the background layer. Okay. And then we'll go up to the filter menu. We come down here to Stylize. And the way I found this, I haven't done it for a while actually. I've probably been a little bit too busy, but often I'll just go into Photoshop, grab an image, and then just try and completely ruin it, essentially, by experimenting with all the filters and all the bits and pieces, pushing sliders to the maximum, seeing what they do. And this is how I discovered that. I was like, oh, Stylize, what's in here? And I went through all of these, and I found Emboss. And originally I thought, oh, this might make a really cool illustrative type photo where I could take a landscape and maybe turn it into like an embossed silver coin, because that's what it kind of looks like. If we zoom in here, and let's just turn these sliders up a little bit here, and you can see how that effect, it kind of looks like an embossed silver coin. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I'm kind of thinking about that over the coming days and wondering what I can do with it. You know, what can I tweak with it? And then it suddenly dawned on me that it was a 50% grey layer that I could potentially use for sharpening. If you've ever seen high pass sharpening, it looks a lot like this. Not as aggressive as this, but it looks a lot like this. And I thought, well, with high pass, we start off with something like this, and we just put it into blend mode, soft light, or overlay to create a detail sharpening technique. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. This might work. So I had a bit of a play around, and look, what we need to do, if you're at home and you're experimenting on your own images, you need to mess around with the angle, you need to mess around with the height, and you need to mess around with the amount. They will all change the look of this particular sharpening to your image. I tend to, on an aerial image, I tend to leave the amount at 500%. The height, between say 2 pixels, and I think I have probably pushed out to the low teens, 12 or 13 before. But there's no, I mean, you can go as far as you like, you know. This could hurt your eyeballs is what it really could do, couldn't it? But, you know, it could become modern art. Who knows? But look at this, you can really see that standing up off the page, and even at 12. We might even start at 12 just to give you an example on screen so it's really, really overly obvious. And then we mess around with the light direction trying to find, because you'll see, depending which direction depends on what goes up and what goes down. Okay, so what's kind of layered, which layer should be on top. With this image, I feel like the top layerings should be on top and then go down, down, down kind of thing as we come down the image. This is the wrong way around. Can we see how the top, you know, this is sitting on top of that, and this is kind of sitting on top of that. That sort of dips down there. Depending where we go though, it gives us a different angle, doesn't it? If you have a light direction within the image, often I'll try and match that up, because you can see the shadow on the right hand side here and the light on the left. Okay, so I'll often match that up too. I didn't really look on mine whether I did. Let's go really aggressive initially, and then we'll come back, delete it, and start again. Click OK. We'll stay zoomed in like that. What sharpening? I'll answer that question in a minute, Graham. What sharpening would I normally do for a standard internet upload? I'll answer that in a second. For aerials, I would use this as part of that. I definitely would, because I want my aerials to really be detailed, jumping off the page, because they're abstract and it's really all about the detail and the patterns within the image. Okay, you can see there's some color kind of artifacting in here. You can leave that in there. I tend not to, because it can get a little bit funky on a print. See in here, we've got some really aggressive color dots, if you like, in there. Let's stay zoomed in. So what I'll do is I'll change this layer 1 to black and white. Now, I'm going to do it destructively rather than via layers. And to do it straight onto that layer, we come up to the image menu, select adjustments, and then black and white. Just click OK. And that will just give us a beautiful 50% grey layer. If you wanted to create an embossed coin of sorts, then this would be something along the lines of how you would do that. Okay, the next step to get the sharpening to come through is we want to change the blend mode, where it says normal, just above the layer stack on the right here, to either overlay or soft light. Let's go with overlay because it's completely over the top. Okay, and that's what we want initially, to show you how absolutely amazing this can lift the detail off the page. Okay, before. all of a sudden I feel like I need glasses. I feel like I'm looking at a blurry print. But it wasn't. All the detail is there, but my eyes are kind of all freaking out now because it looks completely soft and completely blurry, doesn't it? Ignacio would say that's just my, a flaw in my photographic technique probably. He tends to give his mates a hard time about soft photos. We'll talk about that on Friday. Look at this. Before, after. Before, soft, but it's not. All the detail is there. After. Let's zoom around the photo here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Look up here. And I have put too much in. It's a little bit aggressive, but just showing you what this does. Okay? Just crazy. Look at these little fingers, or drips, icing drips on the side of the cake, all dripping down before, after. Oh, it's so simple, but so effective. Questions. I'll just jump back for a second. Graham Gall asked, what would be my standard sharpening technique for uploading to the internet publishing? I use, and it's within my courses as well, I explain it and I show you how to install it and use it. Do I have it here? File, automate. I don't. I haven't reinstalled it since I updated on this particular Mac. I use a web sharpening technique developed by, or an action. No, it's not an action. It's a, what does he call it? What does it go? It's a script, I think. Although it might be an action now. I believe he's got an action panel for it. You want to look up Andreas Resch. Okay, Andreas Resch, web sharpening. That'll probably do. Andreas Resch, web sharpening. Now it's it's something you can download for free essentially. Or Andreas asks, if you enjoy and use the particular action that he's got, and it's incredible. I can't recommend it more highly enough. It can be a little tricky to install, but it's absolutely beautiful. I use it for my digital competitions, and I use it for uploading to Facebook, Instagram, etc. I use it for uploading to my website because it produces a beautiful fine level sharpening, and it's very, very simple. It's essentially one press of a button and it goes whoop, 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 and adjusts everything. It adjusts the color space, it adjusts the size, it adjusts the sharpening. Beautiful, ready to go, ready to publish to the internet. He does have a donation box there to keep the maintenance and keep updating, because every time Photoshop updates, Andreas has to go back and fix the broken bits and pieces that don't work. So, I say $5, $10 might be, if you use it. Look, if you can't afford it, I don't think he would be concerned. There'd be plenty of people taking it for free. But if you are enjoying it, it's a good way to encourage him to keep developing and keep it updated. Check that out. I'm going to give you some more examples on this technique in a moment, but I'll just answer some questions. Darren says, from someone with limited print experience, does this work well with textured papers? Absolutely. The paper texture will give you different effects, but it will really complement this particular technique because you'll get some texture from the paper and you'll get a lot of texture from the print. The particular exhibition that I did with this set of aerials was not on an overly textured paper. It was on a relatively flat, it was a beautiful Epson paper, a cold press natural paper, but it didn't have a lot of texture. But lately I've been using a lot of textured papers. I use a heavily textured paper by Ilford at the moment, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I can't remember, just looking around to see if I had the box of it there. If you're interested, I'll show you in the upcoming tutorials. I want to show you my recent work a little bit more in depth, and I'll show you the paper that I'm using for that as well. Any other questions? Mike says he uses this a fair bit for his Outback images and push the sliders down to create texture in the black and white menu. Okay, cool, absolutely. All sorts of variations you can use. I often will blur this layer a little bit using a Gaussian blur. I often also use Blend If to pull the highlights and the shadows out to make it not as aggressive in the highlights and the shadows. I I won't go too much into depth in those subtleties actually. They're all within the courses. If you want to know more about how to make this absolutely perfect in print or make the best possible print you can produce, all those details are within the courses at easywayphotography.com.au. Ignacio is soft. Yeah, some would say not as soft as his prints. He's not even watching, I'm giving him a hard time. Wait till we get him on Friday, he'll give me a hard time back. Jill, yes, absolutely, you could use it on canvas as well. You could use it on any medium at all, I would imagine. All right, let's go through a few other images. We might do it a bit more, slightly more subtle. Here's another image from Lake Eyre. In fact, four of these images are from Lake Eyre. Should I tell you a funny little story? If you haven't already dropped off, and my counter has dropped off, what's wrong with this counter? It won't stick in. I think we're just going to have to drop it all together, hey? Is the little subscriber banner working? If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscriber banner and see if your name comes up in lights. Should come up with a welcome sort of banner on top of the screen. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that. Let me know if it comes up. Or is that whole software side of things broken? Anyway, doesn't really matter, does it? As long as I can deliver this content. Be sure to hit the like button for me. I would appreciate it a lot. Let me tell you a little story before I show you a couple more examples of Lake Eyre. I went to Lake Eyre, as I said, with the Light Collective guys, and I hadn't shot. I think I'd done one aerial photography flight before going to Lake Eyre. And I knew that we were going to do, and Tom Putt's probably laughing already, I knew we were going to do majority aerial photography. So I'm asking all the other boys, what do I need? What do I do? And they sort of said, oh, you probably need one of these lenses and one of these lenses and one of these lenses. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have any of those. Anyway, it turns out that between us all, we had more than enough of those particular lenses and whatnot that we could sort of chop and change and share them around. And I didn't have to buy any, overly expensive lenses to go to Lake Eyre. Anyway, the very first flight, we're up over Lake Eyre. It's phenomenal. And initially I was shooting with Ignacio's 35mm, quite a wide angle lens for aerial photography, but a lot of the detail on Lake Eyre is really rather vast and on a grand scale. So the 35 was perfect. I was getting incredible images and very happy with that. It was working really, really well. But I thought after about an hour and a half, we were in the plane for about 3 hours, okay? And for someone that's a bit scared of flying, that was rather interesting, particularly with the doors wide open. There's a 2-meter hole in the side of the plane and the wind's blowing past at about 200 miles an hour. That's roughly the speed of the plane, I believe. Or was it kilometers? Either way, pretty fast. The wind was blowing like a hurricane out the side. So that's pretty interesting, but shooting with a 35, and after an hour and a half, I thought, well, I had another lens from Luke, which was a 2470, a Nikon 2470, and he actually borrowed it from Nikon. He has some relationship with Nikon where they give him some lenses, etc., and they promote his images on social media, this, that, and the other. And Ignacio had that same Nikon lens, but Luke found out or thought that Ignacio's copy was maybe a hair sharper. So he was using Iggy's copy and he gave me the Nikon copy. And I thought, well, I might as well try that out. 2470, give me a bit wider, a bit longer to kind of zoom in on some detail. So I put that on. I was using the 35mm, which has a profile of only quite stubby, quite short on the camera. So it didn't really get that affected by the 200-mile-an-hour wind rushing past the open plane door. But the 2470 is about so long. It's a really big, long lens. And I put that on, and the very first time I went to shoot with it, it got caught in the wind and nearly ripped out of my hands. And it also nearly slammed into the side arch of the doorway where the door was open. And I thought, whoa, that was pretty close. I nearly ruined that lens. Anyway, I'm a bit of a problem solver, and I thought, well, I was using one hand at the time, kind of loosely like this, right hand tight, this one kind of guiding me, and it flicked out like that. And that wasn't working particularly well, but I still wanted to use this lens. So I thought, oh no, I'll use two hands. That makes sense, doesn't it? Grab really tight, two hands, click, 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 going beautifully. I captured some incredible images on this lens. In fact, the most significant capture of my entire Lake Eyre collection, if you like, or my own images, the one that's most significant to me, was captured at this very moment with that particular lens. I zoomed in on a particular detail, and I got this beautiful, I might show you later, this beautiful image. I'll show you now. How about that? File. I did have it open. This one here. Hopefully Photoshop doesn't crash in the meantime. While that's opening, we will continue the story. So I've got two hands on. I'm thinking this is working beautifully. Click, 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 click. But the problem is there was a little bit of problem, and there's probably some aerial photographers that know about this problem, because since I've spoken to people, a few others have told me they've done similar, maybe not to the same disastrous results. But I'm clicking away, and then all of a sudden I see another detail, and I think I need to zoom into that. I need to zoom in. So I get right in there, and I'm holding on with my right hand actually, and I'm zooming with my left, and as I zoom with my left, it just goes click, and the whole lens drops out the window. The whole lens. The lens dropped off the camera and went out the window. The problem was my left hand, I was gripping so tightly, I didn't realize that I'd put my finger on the lens release button. And because there's so much vibration in the plane, I didn't twist the lens with the lens release button depressed, but it just bounced around onto, off the click setting. And then when I went to zoom in, I released the whole lens off the frame of the camera. A 2 kilo lens goes shooting like a ballistic missile out the side of the plane and buried itself 2 or 3 meters in the mud of Lake Eyre. I was like, what on earth just happened? What on earth just happened? And I'm thinking, is there any people down there? First thought, no, there's not. Murray Fredericks is occasionally down there, but that's about it. I don't think he was in that particular area, because he's still around to create his incredible imagery today. But I bring the camera back inside and I look at it, and there's just the open hole where the lens used to be. And I'm having a heart attack. It's not even my lens. If it's my lens, I'd just probably laugh it off. That's fine. I can't afford at the time, and I'm just a struggling artist, struggling photographer to some degree. And I'm like, I had the videographer next to me. He's freaking out. I'm freaking out. Luke's in front of me. He doesn't know what's going on. And when I'd put the lens on, I'd shown Luke. I held the camera up and said, I'm using this Nikon lens. He's like, cool, man. And he turns around. What's going on? I hold the camera up without the lens on. It's got no lens on. We're freaking out over the headsets. I'm like, mate, it's all right. We'll talk about it when we get down. I grab the 35mm, put it back on, keep shooting away. You only get so many opportunities to capture the frames in the air. So what can I do about it? It's gone. It's out the window. Keep going. So we get back on the ground, and I say to Luke, look, mate, just tell Nikon what happened. Tell them the truth, and I'll cover retail cost or whatever they want me to cover on this particular lens. And we had no reception out there. And anyway, a few weeks later, a few emails back and forth, and Nikon ended up looking after me to a certain degree. I won't go into those details, but they looked after me, and they said, because we're looking after you, what we want you to do for us is they said to me, we need you to set up a Dropbox folder with your best 20 images set up in this particular specifics, ready for us to share onto our social media channel. Instagram and Facebook, etc., etc. So because I lost their lens out the window, they said for me to repay them, I had to give them all my best images to share on social media. And I was like, yeah, no worries. I've been trying to get you to share my images for years on social media, because you've got a huge channel and a huge influence. And all I had to do was throw one of your lenses out the side of the plane. Anyway, I digress. We got a bit off topic, didn't we? How are we going? Did anyone have any questions? Are you all laughing at me? It was a $3,000 lens, by the way, so you can imagine how freaked out I was. Just scrolling back. Ray Shorter asks, is the 3-day emboss technique in Easy Way courses? Yes, it is. It's in the Turbo course, part of the print preparation workflow. And I go into much more detail in there, all the subtleties of it as well. Amateur, Tom Putt just wrote, amateur, talking to the lens going out. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely an amateur, particularly when it comes to aerial photography. Linda says she was one of those that really wanted to reach out and touch the texture on the paper at the exhibition. Thanks for coming along. Tom Putt just having a good laugh. By the way, Terry Boyd said, I didn't get the emailed image. Terry, that could be because you've already applied and gotten the Dropbox link previously. So if you've joined that particular list where the Dropbox link automatically fires out, you need to keep the Dropbox link safe because that access never changes and you can only get it once. But email me and I'll give you the link directly. But for everyone else, please keep that link safe because I'm getting a lot of emails saying that the email didn't come when it already came a week ago or whenever you previously applied. So if you're missing it, then let me know and I'll send it to you, but please keep it safe if you can. Cheryl already knows that story, don't you, Cheryl? Okay, I'll get back to whoops. Okay. Well, yeah, Roberta says, I wish I had 3,000. Well, so did I. Well, I wish I didn't throw the lens out the window and lose 3,000, but it's kind of a bit of a story that floats around, I think, the Australian photography community now. Remember that dude, Adam Williams, that lost his Nikon lens out over here? Roberta, yeah, bookmark that Dropbox link. Oh, yeah, Gail, you're not alone. A lot of people have been emailing me. I know it's confusing, but once you have that link, just bookmark it and keep it. Okay, this is the image that I shot, and it was one of those images. When I clicked the shutter on this particular image, I remember it was seared into my memory. I was like, whoa, that felt, like a significant image. And as it turns out, it was. Of the thousands of photos that I captured over Lake Eyre, this is by far my most favorite. And it's also been awarded a gold distinction at the APA Awards and a gold award at the New South Wales AIPP Awards. So on that level, it's probably my most awarded photograph, and it's probably also one of my most popular prints as far as sales go as well. If we zoom in here, you will see that it already has the emboss sharpening through this area, which really makes that stand up. These are pelicans, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With a 2-meter wingspan, you can imagine the scale of this particular photograph, okay? Absolutely enormous. Let's just go through and apply this technique a couple more times before we wrap it up. Here we go here. Command or Control J. Let's see if we can make a difference to this image. We'll zoom in. Now again, the details, it's kind of muddy and salty and a bit soft, but that's a sharp photo. Well, it's about as good as I can do. No, it's very good. There's nothing wrong with that photo as far as raw file resolution is concerned. It's very nice, very crisp. Let's see what 3D sharpening can do. Filter, Stylize, Emboss. We won't go overboard on this one. Let's zoom back a little bit. Again, I think I want the top sections to be overlaid over the bottom, and currently that's not the case. You can see the bottom is higher than the top section, so we need to flick this light around. That's better. Just have a play. That might be better, more subtle even. That's pretty aggressive. Let's go slightly more subtle with that angle there. Let's lower this down. Let's go about 8. Click OK. And change from normal blend mode to overlay or soft light. Soft light's a little bit more subtle. Absolutely beautiful. Let's zoom in a little bit. Look at these details. Just jumping off the page. Let's have a look. Before, after. Before. Again, it's probably too much, but it's for dramatic effect for this online tutorial. I wouldn't put that much detail into an image before I printed because it will look over the top. Even though I love over the top, that would be too much. And when you do too much, they tend to look like, an old concrete wall. And you need to be careful of that too, because you don't want your water. Lake Eyre, a lot of my photos will have 50% water and 50% gritty sand and texture and mud. So you don't want your water necessarily looking like concrete, but you might want that concrete grit in the rest of the image. So you might have to mask it in or out where you would like that to be. Let's do a couple of other examples just to show you how powerful. Look at this image. Didn't make the Lake Eyre collection, in fact. And I quite like it. I quite like it now. I wasn't overly in love with it at the time, but it's got beautiful textures and a pop of bright color. Does it represent reality? No, not really. But then again, if you know me well enough, then I'm not overly concerned about representing reality. The colors and the textures, of course, they're all in the raw file. I haven't really tweaked them away from what was there, but I've just added a bucket load of contrast, an absolute bucket load of contrast. If you're interested, in fact, I can show you some of the raw files from these projects when we do an in-depth look at them. Let's again, Command or Control J for duplicate, J for jelly bean, filter, stylize, emboss. And again, you can see that central subject has been pushed back, pushed into, engraved into the scene, if you like. And I prefer to have the most prominent subjects of these photos sit up. Okay, so it's just a case of just tweaking with the light until we can find, yeah, over there looks good. You can see that's sitting up, that's sitting up, that's sitting up, all those details sitting up. Let's go to something more realistic. That looks nice, 6 pixels. Click OK. Again, I would normally, if I was doing this for print, yes, I would change this layer to black and white. Let's do that just to make sure you're all on the same page. And change the blend mode to either overlay or soft light. Yeah, this is a really nice print finish on this one. Okay, it kind of looks like a grainy, leathery, that old concrete wall. But this is a bit more subtle now. This is a bit closer to what I would expect to do in an actual print. Let's have a look. It is more subtle than what I've been pushing, but before, okay, see the details look soft. After, just gritty, almost like you can see all the sand grains in there. Okay, down here again, gives you an idea of the scale, but here is more birds. 1, 2, they'd be pelicans as well. Okay, let's have a look. Before, after. Just sets that image off. That would look really, really beautiful in a print. Let me know if you're interested and I'll print one off for you. All right, one more. This is actually from, not from Lake Air. Let me remove that ruler guide. This is from the Black and Blue collection where we photographed the open cut coal mines and photographed the Great Barrier Reef and had an exhibition with them side by side. Black versus blue, black and blue, a metaphor for abuse, misuse, mistreatment, if you like. I'll leave you to join the dots, but you can find out more information if you go to www.thelightcollective.com.au. Is that right? I believe it is. Yes, it is. That is the website. Jump over there. You can see we've got a couple of books for sale on those complete exhibitions and projects as well. If we zoom into this before we sharpen, you can see it's a very nice, you know, these are only, when I say only, Nikon D800 files, which is a very good camera with a very good file, but they're not medium format. When you see this printed at 1 meter by 1 meter, it looks, the detail that this is about to bring to this file, it looks like medium format, but you can see it starts off very, very nice. Once again, Command or Control J for duplicate, filter, where are we? Stylize, emboss. I'll try and, well, that's too much on this one. 2, maybe we can get away with 3. Let's change the light direction, make sure the trees are sitting up. See, the trees are now sitting down, we don't want that. Down, down. Okay, so we need the light down here somewhere. Should be good. Can we get away with 4? Sure, let's try it. Click OK. Once again, overlay or soft light. Let's go soft light, a little bit more subtle. Look at these trees. These trees look like they were little cotton buds just jumping off the print. Let's look before. Before, after. Before, look at these little tessellations here. Wow, look at that. Those sort of elephant skin textures there. Before they look nice, look after. They look like little tiles, all placed in there individually like a mosaic, nature's mosaic. Let's come up here to the sludge. Before, look at that. Look at the depth and detail that brings. Scanning around. Let's come down here. It's a little bit too much maybe in there. A little bit too much there. But this detail in here is just gorgeous. Before, after. Probably still a bit too much if I'm honest. But look at that. Before, look at that. Let's zoom in. Just a fraction. Into this section here. Before, after. Okay. Let's have a look if there was any questions. Any questions? Terry says it was a great exhibition. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for coming along. It doesn't look like there's too many more questions. Oh, Steve Castle, would you reduce the opacity to control the effect? Yes. And I also often use blend if to reduce, because the effect is mainly contained within the tonalities of the brighter and the darker. So when it goes over the top, often it's over the top in the really bright areas or the really dark areas of that particular layer. So I'll use blend if to reduce the opacity, if you like, in the areas that are really impacting the image by too much. And that allows me to keep the effect in full in the mid-tones, okay? Anna asks, how well does this work on non-aerial photographs? You need to be more selective. It works really well on gritty, wet rocks. It doesn't tend to work too well on like rainforest scenes, but it will work really well if you wanted to paint up. You know, if you had a rainforest and you had an incredibly, okay, let's grab one actually. While we're here, just playing around, I've got some images here. One came to mind. Excuse me, while I open this up, doesn't make for the most enthralling. Where are we? Where is it? Intermediate, textures, car, clouds. Excuse me a second, this is not the right folder, is it? Creative. Maybe I don't have an image. I had an image that I could think of. Let me have a look. No. I can't find the image that I was looking for. Give me one more second. Visual direction, prints, PowerPoint, other. We can probably use this one as a good example. I was hoping to find that one with the big tree and we could really get the bark, you know, the bark lifting up. This is a raw file. Let's see, I've never done this to this file before, but I think these rocks will work quite well. Keep in mind that I would process this image first, but let's see if we can get some texture out of these rocks. Filter, stylize, emboss. Now this is a low res image, so with a low res image you're not going to be able to push these bigger numbers in, so I might have to come down quite low here. I know the light was coming in from that direction. I really want this to be a high res, but let's see if it works. Yeah, it does. It's not as impressive. You need the high res images. What I will do a little bit tomorrow again, and I'll get some images prepared for you guys. Jan says, would I ever clone out the pelicans because they're just white dots? These are lower resolution images, Jan. In the actual print files, you can see the shape of the little wings and the birds flying. And I love that little detail, and to be able to create that sense of scale and enormity to the photo by having those tiny little birds in there. And people seem to love it at the exhibition as well, to be able to see, because aerial is such an abstract format, you know, you can't really tell what you're looking at, and then to see those little tiny birds, it just adds another dimension to the image. Okay, so and I have a play around on normal images, but yeah, wet rocks works really well. Tree trunks will work really nicely. So if you had a big gnarly old tree trunk as the subject in one of your photographs, you could paint up with a little extra texture there and draw the eye into that photograph. Katrina. Oh, what was my shutter speed? Aerial photographs, yeah, up over 1,000 at least. If you can get to 1/1500th or even, you know, somewhere up around that. Every aerial photograph, generally, I have my camera set to at least over 1,000, 1/1000th to get that sharp detail. Cookies. Doug Porter, cookies? I like cookies. Okay. Yeah, Ray, you just missed out. We're just wrapping it up. Ray, jump back and check out the replay. I'll add this one in the description of tomorrow's video in the highlights as well. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's a bit of fun. Sharpening technique that I use a lot. It's incredible for drone photography, aerial photography. If you happen to go down the beach and take rock pool photography, it'll work on those beautiful wet rocks like that. It'll work selectively in some of your landscape photos as well. It will make other areas look pretty ordinary, so you might have to mask in and mask out depending where it looks really, really nice. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, get notifications. We do this every day at 10 a.m. If you think the tutorial was worth a like, I would much appreciate it. That would be absolutely fantastic. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching along. Stay safe, stay well. Love to your family. I'll see you tomorrow. We're doing photo critique tomorrow. Come and join us tomorrow when we look at 8 photos from the viewers, from you, the viewers, and we're going to critique them live here on YouTube. Remember, Friday, Ignacio Palacios is joining us. We're going to have a lot of fun. That's really all there is to it. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.